All right, so in the spirit of the new year, let's try something new, which is me doing my first ever full-on comparison video, driving two different cars, kind of comparing the pros and the cons, and maybe giving you guys a little insight into which one I would choose, practically speaking. And full disclosure here, I have done a full review on both these vehicles, so you can go down in the description box below and find those, again, full reviews. Just bear in mind that those are some of my earlier videos, so take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, let's jump into this video, and all I'm going to ask is that if you guys enjoyed this video, you throw it a like, and if you want to see more content like this and help make content like this possible, you subscribe. Without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so today we're comparing the Mercedes-Benz C300 to the BMW 330i. Now, at face value, these are two longtime competitors, and a lot of people through many generations of these cars have compared the two and feverishly chosen one over the other, said the other one sucks. You know, there's a lot of BMW fanboys, there's also a lot of Mercedes-Benz fans that clash and say that the other car is terrible, that their car is superior in one way or another. And the truth is, they're both fantastic cars, especially in their current iterations, and beyond that, I mean, yeah, there are certain strengths and weaknesses, but I think it comes down more to a little bit of subjectivity, your personal preferences, both with the brand or with the styling and options, as well as a pricing factor, which we'll get into in a moment. Now, to start things off, we're here in the BMW 330i, and in this case, it's not an M Sport, but nonetheless, it's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine producing 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque, all through an 8-speed ZF transmission here, and powering the rear wheels, because this is a non-X drive, this is S-drive, rear-wheel drive. So in a moment when this light turns green, we're going to punch it. We're actually going to throw it into sport mode here and throw the vehicle into sport mode instead of comfort. And yeah, when the light turns green, we're going to punch it and see how it takes off. Here we go. Foot all the way down, a little bit of bog. Picks up pretty strong, and there's 60. So throw it back into comfort and back into drive. Not terrible, nothing that blows you away by any means, but a zippy car. I would say this is the definition of adequate. You are never going to drive this around and go, oh, it's so slow, it's so lethargic. It's zippy enough, and that's definitely true of, I mean, just about any turbocharged BMW motor. They're just pretty good at baking in a bit of torque and the zippiness again, and then obviously if you work your way up to the M performance vehicles and then the full-on M's and M competitions, you're going to you get some real torque monsters within the BMW lineup, looks aside. Now, speaking of looks, I'm not the biggest fan of this generation of 3 Series, the G20s. I think I've seen certain combinations that look better than others, and certainly an M Sport package, which comes standard on the M340, but you can get optional here on the 330, makes a big difference. I personally would spring for that, and you'll see that the C300 we're reviewing does have the AMG line, so that kind of does have the sporty look, more similar to a C43 Mercedes. But without any of that here, the exterior, I mean, I think in black it's pretty subdued, and at least that hides some of the things I don't like, but it's not my favorite exterior on a sedan. And I think actually the F30s, the previous gen, looked better, and even the E90s looked a little just sleeker and cleaner. We can go way back to E46s and then E36s, and BMWs just used to have a bit of what I would call classic, clean, simple, sleek design, and now I don't know if you could make a blanket statement about the brand like that anymore. We all have our own opinions and whatever, but it's definitely polarizing. Now, the looks aside, this is a hell of a car. For the money, I mean, new, a hell of a car. Back in 2019 when these came out, talking about a vehicle like this one in the high $40,000 range, you could probably get a discount on one. You're in the low mid $40,000 range for a non-M Sport like this, but with Apple CarPlay, the large Live Cockpit Pro system, digital screen here, and some safety features, blind spot, LED headlights, and you have a pretty decent package for the money. Now, we're in a crazy car market, so if you're considering this 330 or a 330 in general, 3 Series, or a C-Class, you're paying top dollar today, and I would even argue some of these cars are worth more than they were just a couple years ago, which is absolutely insane. You're gonna probably be getting into a 3 Series like this right now in that mid kind of $30,000 to low $40,000 range, depending on mileage, depending on year. Obviously, you can get a 2019, a 20, a 21, I think now even a 22. There aren't really many differences between any of them. There probably will be a facelifted LCI model for the 23 model year coming out the end of this year, end of 2022. But until then, you're not getting a whole host of differences or changes between the model years aside from just being a newer car, less wear and tear on it, lower mileage. Again, that's just your basic stuff. Again, then also between xDrive and S-Drive, I prefer S-Drive. It's lighter, better fuel economy, and here in SoCal, I don't really need or see any real major benefit to xDrive on a 3 Series. But those are all things to factor in. Obviously, M Sport then too will again affect the price. But you are still getting a decent value in that high $30,000, low $40,000 range. It's a little crazy, but at least you're getting a new car. This is the new generation of BMW. Even though there will likely be a facelift soon, this model just came out a couple years ago. And in pandemic timing, it feels like just last year these came out. So it's the latest and greatest. Whereas with the C-Class, it's just now about to be replaced. Probably within 6 months' time, there will be an all-new one on the ground, next-gen C-Class. So with that said, I've rambled on a little bit, showing you guys that this thing is a beast. And again, my full review will give you all the details of my true opinions on the dynamics, but the reality is this drives nice. The steering is nice. When you switch it into sport mode, it's comfy. The screen inside, the iDrive works really well. But I want to now compare it all to the C-Class, and we'll see what my final verdict is. All right, so jumping over here now to the C300. I guess I should mention that I actually do have a review on both the M340 as well as the C43 and even actually a C300 Coupe. So you guys can go check all that out on my channel if you're interested. But sticking to the C300 here, as I mentioned, the second you jump in, there are a couple touches that feel maybe just a touch more premium here than they do in that 330i. And a few that stand out to me, you have an electronically controlled steering column. So you can very easily just bring it forward, bring it back completely electronically. And a nicety of that beyond just being convenient versus manually doing it is you can sync that then to your driver's seat memory buttons here, and you have 3 of them actually. So again, a little bit more luxury there, but having 3 settings, so you can have 3 separate drivers all having their seat set up, and the steering wheel then syncs up with it. Another thing that's kind of unique within the segment is you have that Panos sunroof. It's an option on the C-Class. I believe even a standard sunroof might be an option, but certainly this Pano was an option that this particular model has, but it's killer, and you don't find many compact sedans like this with a Panos sunroof. Having that in the back feels very nice, and even just sitting here and, I don't know, basking in all that light, even though it's not very bright out today. Beyond that, there's some nice looking finishes, although it has the classic Mercedes-Benz squeak when you press on all the trim, so that's a big double thumbs down downside. At the end of the day, it's a nice place to spend some time, and I can understand how some people may find this to be a bit nicer than the 3 Series. Price-wise, these are going for the high $30,000 to mid $40,000 range, so just a touch more than the 330i. Brand new, this is actually within $1,000 of the MSRP of that particular 330i, albeit this is, of course, a AMG line with that sportier look, has that Panos sunroof, and that is a more base 330i, at least exterior-wise, but has the Live Cockpit Pro. This does have the facelifted, wider infotainment screen, but it's the older command system and not the brand new MBUX, got it. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into that in a second. Right now, we're at a red light again, just like the 330i. This is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, the exact same in regards to those parameters. The same 255 horsepower, although a little less torque at 273 pound-feet, and all driven through a 9-speed automatic transmission, not a ZF, once again through the rear wheels. So when the light turns green, we're gonna punch it. We are currently in Sport Plus, and there we go. Pedal to the metal, even more bog, then quite a bit dramatic. It picks up, and there's 60. I'll be honest, there was definitely more theater or more drama with the C300 right there. A little bit more noise, a little bit more violent almost. Not violent compared to a proper sports car, but more violent than the 330. But I want to say that was a hair slower, and it didn't have that smooth, clean pull the BMW had, but it was a little more exciting. And again, just like the BMW, this is adequate or zippy, not crazy sporty. The steering here is actually better than I expected, and as BMW steering has generally deteriorated Mercedes-Benz has ever so slightly tweaked their handling characteristics in general and just made slight improvements that are perceptible. Now, there are little finicky things about the Mercedes that just me personally, I don't like, and that comes down to how you interact with a lot of the tech. I don't like using these haptic buttons to interact with both this little central screen here in my gauge cluster, nor the standard central infotainment here. This isn't touchscreen, so again, even though it's wider, it's not MBUX, it's the command system. You have to use this knob. It's a laggy system, it's not super intuitive, and while the MBUX is decent, still not my favorite, but a larger, massive improvement, this kind of blows. Other than that, this is a pleasant place to spend some time. I have to say I do like the seat controls here on the doors. I used to kind of hate it when I was a kid, and the older I've gotten, you don't bang your watch up into your door by trying to reach down, and you could just, like a Rolls Royce, bring your seat forward, bring your seat back. It's very luxurious. I will admit there's a little bit less space for someone of my height here in the C-Class. I'm sure that's true of the back seats as well, but certainly in the front, it's just a little more cramped. I'm about almost 6'2", so I would say if you're below 6 foot, you're not gonna notice any difference. If you're above 6'2", taller than I am, you probably will notice a bit of a difference in favor of the BMW on that front. But looks-wise, this is a chic, clean car. And I really do like that Stormtrooper look here. And again, the AMG line just makes it look sharp. The front end basically looks like a C43, as does the back, save for those exhaust tip finishers. This is a clean vehicle. The wheel design is fantastic. And ultimately, you can't go wrong with either of these cars. But with that said, let's jump into my verdict. So as you guys can see, the C-Class is a great vehicle in its own right. I just think the fact that those are actually going for a hair more than these is already kind of, I don't want to say wrong, but this is probably actually the better vehicle overall. And then when you factor in that this is current gen and that's just now about to become last gen, I really wouldn't put my money into something that in a matter of less than 12 months will be last gen, and then on top of that pay more than this for that last gen tech. So I'm gonna stick with the 3 Series on this one. If you guys have enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. New videos are dropping every single week on Fridays. Comment down below, let me know what you guys wanna see, and as I hit this right turn, little flick. This is Rio, peace out.